Hey, Monique,
Yes,
I want to read you a quote
please
from
do.
the Burnout book
Okay, good.
to kick off our conversation today.
Okay.
As Naomi Wolf puts it, a culture fixated on female thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience.
What? Don't like that.
I mean, how do you that's so much to unpack.
Yeah,
So, should we do it?
let's get in.
Okay, let's go. Welcome to Heart and Soul, the podcast where we empower and inspire women to lead their best lives, harnessing the power of their hearts and souls. We are Mariah
And Monique.
your hosts and guides on this journey of self-discovery and personal growth.
In each episode, we will dive deep into topics that matter most to you, from self-love and confidence to career development, relationships, and everything in between. We believe that every woman has a unique strength and inner wisdom waiting to be unleashed.
Join us as we cover insightful heart and soul-centered topics and interview incredible women who've overcome challenges, chased their dreams, and found their true purpose. Through all of this, you will discover practical tips, strategies, and real-life stories to help you navigate life's twists and turns.
For whatever season of life you're in, this podcast is your safe space to explore, learn, grow, and possibly even laugh and cry with us. So grab your headphones, maybe your favorite drink, and we'll embark on this transformative journey together.
With heart, I'm Mariah.
And with soul, I'm Monique.
Welcome back to another episode of the Heart and Soul podcast in our Burnout series, based on the book Burnout by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. We are going to dive into one of the topics that comes front and center in the book as ultimately the leading cause of burnout in society, particularly for women. And that's the Bikini Industrial Complex.
That sounds complicated.
It is very complicated and, lest I say, very toxic.
Oh.
So in the book, I know in the many times I've read through it, after you kind of go through the sections about like what is burnout, how do you complete the stress cycle of burnout, you then enter a next phase of the book that a lot of the mastermind participants that we work with that read this, I can't wait to like hear what they have to say when they get to that part.
Yeah.
Because it's very eye-opening and they do a tremendous job of blowing open all of the many things that women confront that cause burnout. Right?
Yes.
They're well known for the statement patriarchy.
Ew.
And so the Bikini Industrial Complex being one of the elements that they cite. So that quote that I led with in the intro, that thinness is not about female beauty, but female obedience. Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
Like, let's unpack that and think about what that really means and how did we come to the societal norm that thinness is equal to healthiness.
Yeah, I don't even understand how we got where we're at, but the book does lead you down a little bit of a journey so you understand some of the framework as to why we are where we're at, right? I remember reading in it some of the stats because they're great stats collectors and they give you all of the scientific data that they collected. And they said nowadays, is it 6-year-olds? Half of them worry about their weight. 6-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And by like 9 or 12 or something like that, I'm sure I'm getting these numbers wrong. Like 2/3. And then when you're a female, like or a fully formed woman, 18, I'm guessing, you're on a diet. Like shame on us as a culture for perpetuating this, in my opinion.
So let's talk about what the Bikini Industrial Complex is.
Yes.
And
Sorry,
how
I digress.
No, what you point out is exactly like the problems related to this construct, the societal construct that the thinness of your body is reflective of your health and is a way in which to control you.
Yes.
By preoccupying you with the state of your physical body so that you are I don't know, rabble rousing. I'm not, you know,
I know.
what, protesting, marching on Washington. I don't know.
Right. Being a human.
I hope that we're starting to heal this a little bit of realizing how ridiculous that is. But let's talk about the BMI, the body mass index.
Yes.
And how that ultimately has led to this construct. Do you want to kind of dive into that?
Yeah. I was reviewing the book for today's show, and I read just a little shortly ago that the BMI was created by 9 individuals that got together, 7 of which were employed by the diet industry. It is a huge industry that has been put in place to keep us and control us and get us to spend our money. Right?
Right.
So that's not even the standard that was created for us to be quote unquote healthy was not necessarily given to us by quote unquote healthy people, meaning they wanted us to diet, which I guess if you think that that's healthy, the book demystifies it and says it's absolutely not healthy for you to be a serial dieter because it changes your brain chemistry and it constantly messes you up. So that in itself, I would like to just say throw the BMI out, but everybody goes to the doctor every year and they're like, oh, you're overweight. Whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So really, I think if I could say to anybody, that doesn't even matter because it was created by 9 individuals. This thing that we are supposed to live by, this standard was created by 9 people. When in your life do you let 9 people determine everything about your happiness, about how you look and feel? Shouldn't it be about how you feel in your body? And it doesn't take into account your muscle density. Some people have more muscle density. It doesn't take into account how your bones are. Some people are bigger boned or smaller boned or whatever the thing is. It shouldn't even be a thing, but it is still a thing. So if you go to your doctor, say, I don't want to know what my BMI is or whatever. Like, I just think don't even pay any attention to that.
Well, there's so many other factors that determine healthiness.
Oh, yes.
And a very thin person can be just as unhealthy as somebody who, according to the BMI, would be considered overweight.
Yes.
Those things are so relative in terms of that person's family history, their diet, just their environmental exposures, their chemistry. Like, there are so many factors that go into whether that person is quote unquote healthy.
Right.
That the fact we for so long used this measurement, this arbitrary measurement to create and set a cultural standard.
Yes.
I remember reading this and being absolutely outraged.
Yes.
Like, that is not something I
Yes.
truly understood or was aware of until this book. And
Yes.
there are many things that in this very short book have that same level of like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But this one really got me as a woman where you logically know this, and yet every cultural cue you see or have seen grown up with tells you otherwise.
I feel like we've been brainwashed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because even in our culture, in the book, it states that people who are overweight or considered obese, they make less money at their jobs. They constantly have to put up with bullying from either their peers or, like in schools, children who are overweight, children, adolescents, they put up with bullying from their teachers. They're considered lazy, like they can't seem to get this be within the socially acceptable standard, so they must be lazy. Like, what?
Don't even get me started.
I know, it makes me hot under the collar. If I had a collar and I'd be right?
Yeah. And I do feel like this is the tide is starting to change with the younger generation. I know with my own daughters, we have had some really powerful talks about we don't comment on other people's bodies.
I love that.
Like the way that we look at bodies, I feel like in their eyes, they're helping me to look at it differently.
Right.
And that's been really interesting and eye-opening
Mm-hmm.
because I've had to be deprogrammed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a pretty accepting,
Yes.
comfortable,
Open-minded.
open-minded
Yep.
human, and I'm having to be deprogrammed. Whoa. Like, this is a vast,
Yes.
incredibly nuanced topic, and it is all about the dollars,
Yes.
right?
That's really where it
Also
started.
that
Yes.
isn't it often comes back to that, but also that industry, the diet industry, the pharma industry
Mm-hmm.
can get rich,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like, and it's always something, there's always some wonder drug, always some wonder diet to try to
Yes.
meet this this insatiable need of people to be something that they're not.
Mm.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
what I thought was really interesting too in like this section that I read is it talked about how like before the toxic norms of the 21st century where thinness was the object, like it used to be that thinness was actually looked at as like
Something the
you're
matter with you,
poor.
maybe?
You're
Yes.
poor because
You
you
couldn't
can't
eat.
afford to eat,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Like you were looked at like the Paul Rubens, the artist, like his pictures of the luscious, robust women,
Mm-hmm.
like they were the wealthy class.
Yeah. They were
That was the
celebrated.
objective
Yes.
because they were rich and could afford to eat. Well, then this killed me. Let me read you this. In the 19th century, with the rise of the middle class, it became fashionable for a man to be able to afford a wife who was too weak to work. How barbaric does that sound?
Yes.
Like it was a status symbol and an advertisement of wealth for a man to have a wife who not only didn't, but couldn't contribute to the household income. She was too delicate or fragile. And those became the feminine virtues.
Wow. Wow.
And that's where it comes from. We talked about in our past podcast with Jennifer, like you're too aggressive. You're
Yes.
too, these like you're too much statements
Yes.
for women.
Yes.
It came out of this like I
Yes.
need you to be
Demure.
quiet, demure,
Yeah.
delicate,
Yes.
and too unhealthy to work.
Wow.
So that I can control you and make the decisions
Right.
for our family.
And if that is a thing, like women can't get pregnant unless they weigh a certain weight. Athletes like cannot even have their periods because their fats, however you say the words, sorry if I'm stumbling a little bit, but like their body fat is too low.
Yeah.
Right? So they can't even like bear children. So you need fat for that. Not that that's our only purpose, but like you'd think in a marriage, if you want your wife to be, staying at home raising a family, to be thin like that, wouldn't you? It's not even going to be one of the things that I don't know. I'm just kidding. Again, hot under the collar.
It goes on to say that that notion of femininity and feminine virtue is actually a contradiction to everything that evolution would have a woman to be: robust, strong, able, healthy to conceive, which you just touched on, gestate, birth, breastfeed, and carry multiple offspring. So like we are actually biologically
wired
on the deepest level wired not to be so thin and delicate that we couldn't possibly work.
No, of course not. What the hell?
So like if you just simplify in the psychology of it, it's like, ooh, we're onto something. We can keep these women under control. We'll just make them so thin that they can't contribute. Well, then you start to go, through the 20th century where women started to rise up and say like, the hell? Like, we don't want that. We had to gain the right to vote, wear pants, all the different things, But now you come back around, you start to get into like 70s and 80s where women are really making great strides and turning a corner. And then it's like, aha, BMI. Bikini Industrial Complex. We can keep holding you down by using this one thing that you will continue to struggle to overcome.
Yes, and I feel
your
like
bodies. We will continue to mess around with your right and your ability to control your body.
I feel that, yes, it's an absolute control mechanism. And think about all of the mental capacity we as women spend on not only how we look, but our bodies, right? We spend money on clothes. We spend money on makeup, jewelry. Fine. I love all these things. I love all these things. But on top of that, then we spend a lot of time and effort and energy also on just like keeping ourselves in shape. There's a whole, it's ridiculous how much we spend on this.
Yeah.
Not only financially, but just as a culture, like as females, our mental brain power is wasted. So much wasted space. Think of all the things we could accomplish without this brain capacity going towards that
every day.
Yes.
And I do want to say, caveat, it's not that men don't also struggle or suffer from this.
I have 3 sons. They have struggled.
Yeah. I don't want to, we're 2 women. We can only really know what we know.
Yes.
But I do recognize and see like this ended up seeping over
Absolutely.
into, the entire population, any gender. And that it is debilitating in many ways.
Yes.
And I mean, if I'm just like completely transparent and honest on this podcast, like I never worried or struggled with weight until I turned 40 years old.
Mm.
And now I've had to relearn how to love my own body.
Where it's at today.
Where it's at. And that is a daily struggle that I am not enjoying.
Yes.
And it sucks. But like I have a new empathy for people who have felt this way from 6 years old.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And I just got lucky that I was able to coast by as average.
Interesting.
Like, I was never the thinnest one. I was never like not athletically built, anything like that. But I was average enough to coast by without picking up, thankfully, somewhere along the way on all of the mental clutter around bodies.
Yeah, I remember when I was around 10 or 12 and my body started changing and I have like Hispanic genes. And I remember seeing my thighs get thicker and my bum getting bigger and thinking to myself, there's something the matter with me, because where we live, there's a lot of Scandinavian people who do not have
different build.
Totally different build. They're taller and leaner typically. And I know I'm generalizing and I shouldn't, but that's what I grew up against. This is my experience. And I remember thinking like, what is the matter with me? And so when I was reading in the book too, it was talking about how this has never really been a problem. If you go to cultures where they never had TV, once TV was introduced and they had something to compare to, within a month, they started having like issues with their body image. Within a month of being introduced.
Wasn't it like a Polynesian island or something?
Yeah, like Fiji or something like that.
Yeah, like they're totally unexposed to the outside world.
Yeah, I mean, they were exposed, but not like daily. So television is a direct correlation because there's that comparison factor, right? Like, oh, wait, this is a beauty standard that I have not been exposed to because my mom doesn't look like that. My auntie doesn't look like that, whatever. We're just using a fake story here. And all of a sudden now I'm sitting in front of something and it looks completely different than my mom or my auntie. And it's like, oh, something's the matter with me. So, sort of like what I looked at 10 or 12.
Right.
What's the matter with me? Because I have this weird bigger thighs, bigger bum than everybody else around me. You start then as females, I feel like, because we want to make everybody happy. We want to, we just overgive, we assume it's us and it couldn't possibly be the culture. And shame on the culture for making us think that something is the matter with us. Shame on it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to keep having these conversations to change the way people are thinking and looking at this.
And we need to be elevating or rising up more normal bodies.
Yes.
Because we've even gone so far as to like what we see in our media, on our television, on our social feeds, it's not even real.
Right.
It's
enhanced
also,
or whatever.
It's also manipulated through editing.
Yes.
And
you see them on the street and you're like, that's not even that same person.
Right. So like what we see versus what is real isn't even real.
Right.
Then thinking about what we see that is being elevated as some symbol of like, icon, like it's what's on TV, right? It's what gets filmed.
Yes.
You can't help but just in your head categorize that as well, that's the aspiration, right? Like that's what we're striving for.
Right.
So, just like with any sort of like the more women that we see in TV or on award stages, the more diversity that we see,
Mhm.
and the same goes for that body inclusivity.
Mhm.
It it helps. It's the kids today, I think, are using more positive body language,
Yes.
but we're not through this by any stretch.
No, and I feel like anytime a society or anyone changes, like I feel, and you probably could speak to this maybe clearer than I can, but I feel like when something is so far one way, the pendulum needs to swing way the heck over here in
Right.
order to even get people to change. So people will be like, what's up with this? Why do we now have to do this? Why is it all of a sudden a thing? Insert whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, because for so long, this class of person was so beaten down and they were so unrecognized and so marginalized. We need to swing the pendulum way over here to make sure that they're seen and their voices are heard. It's not because like it's trending or whatever. So we need to swing the pendulum so far where we accept and love ourselves wherever we are. If we wake up, we had pizza last night and beer, and we weigh 5 pounds more than we did yesterday. You love yourself, you accept yourself. You say, how do I feel? What do I want to do? What do I need today to make myself feel good? You know what I mean? Like you love and accept
Yeah.
yourself no matter where you're at.
I feel like this conversation is such a great culmination today of a little bit of the journey that I've been on for the past couple months because, I kind of hit a moment of like, I feel crappy, right? And we've talked
Yes.
about that in our other conversations we've had with Dr. Kintop and
Yes.
like, I feel crappy. Okay, what is that a function of? Like,
Mm,
is it society's vision of myself, my
sure.
own vision of myself? Is it actually something physically wrong? Like the exploration of that. And in doing that, learning like there's so many factors
Yes.
that are going to contribute to the way I feel. And ultimately I have to be conscious of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Not one thing is going
Right.
to solve the way I feel.
Right.
1 pound lost does not change how I feel. I was
Right.
actually I've started training with Anna McGee, another guest. My God, this podcast is really
all
working
about our
out
life.
for me.
It's all
going
about
really
our
good.
lives.
It's been wonderful. It was something that I was long overdue to invest in myself and in getting strong. What I'm loving about that is how I'm spending that time so that I am stronger,
Mm,
more able
mm.
to work harder,
Yes.
right? Like the opposite of what 19th century,
Mm.
industrial economy would want from me.
Yeah.
And able to continue to live the life that I love
Mm-hmm.
and able to feel better and stronger within my physical body, which
Yes.
also impacts my mental health. And so it's changed my whole lens of like, okay, I don't just need to like get on a diet and lose weight. Like I need to feel better, stronger, healthier,
Mm-hmm.
and between all these different things that I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing,
Mm-hmm.
but ultimately recognize the game is rigged,
Yeah,
right? Like going
absolutely.
back to like the whole premise of this book, the game is rigged. I'm in this swirl. I'm trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to kind of quiet the nonsense to just listen to the little inner voice and say, one thing at a time, how do I feel?
Yes.
Is this helping?
Yes.
What where's my happiness really lie? Does it lie in like my jean size?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Cut out the tag.
Oh, I love that. Cut out the damn tag.
Who gives a crap?
Yeah. So
Yes.
it's been a journey, and I feel like this conversation is like so perfectly timed.
Yes.
Just from where I'm at, and I'm sure that other people listening have been
Mhm.
there,
Mhm.
will be there, are
Yes.
currently there.
Yes.
But as women, we have probably gone through some version of this in life. Oh my gosh, postnatal after you've had
Yes.
kids, like every change, like
Yes.
menopause. I mean,
Our bodies
our
are
bodies are
constantly
always
changing.
yes. Like if one thing is certain is our bodies are always
Yes.
changing. And so what is going to work for us today may not work tomorrow. And
Mhm.
it's high time we start demanding and investing in the science
Mhm.
that actually focuses on our bodies
Yes.
and the truth.
Yes.
Because we are being misled by a science that is not
By 9 individuals.
not real.
Yes, 9 individuals have set the standard for millions, billions on this planet. I think what you hit on about feeling healthy should be the new Bikini Industrial standard.
Yeah. Or in the book, they call it the new hotness.
Oh, I like that.
The new hotness.
Okay.
Yes.
I think it should be more about how you feel in your body, not, like you can be a size 0, which who cares? Some people that's their gold star, right? And you can feel like crap because maybe you're not eating, maybe you're taking diet pills. I don't know what the things are that you're doing, and then you could be a size 20, which by some people's standard, who cares? But some people would say that's bigger. And you could feel great because you're eating right, you're working out, you're taking care of yourself. But the whole thing is, this is all about burnout. And so we live in this culture where you can't even identify the thing sometimes that's burning you out. This is an underlying undercurrent that isn't even, it's not even in our awareness, in our sphere of knowing, that's like adding to your burnout.
Correct. Yes.
It should not be, the conversation shouldn't be about how are you, how do you look or whatever. It should be about how you feel. It shouldn't, the undercurrent should just not exist, right? We should not even have it, but it's here. So let's call it out so that people can be aware of it, so that they can know then, oh, that's what this is. And like you said, what is this thing? It's not about me being heavier than I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a year ago. It's about, I'm actually not feeling as well as I was feeling.
That was the straw that broke the camel's back, right?
Right.
Like it was like, oh, there's other things that I need to listen to. But I have to say, like, I was also suddenly feeling the pressure of the physical,
Mm-hmm.
like how you show up physically.
Yes.
Like, I get it. I understand.
You
like,
were feeling
how hard that is.
some of the discrimination that some people feel by having a body that, how dare it change?
Right?
Guess, right?
Oh, there's so much here. And I'm just thinking about like demand or seek your own science.
I love that.
That has been very empowering.
Yes.
And recognize that, like you said, it's one undercurrent, and there are a few going on at any given time for women, and it's one undercurrent that when you can look at it and identify it and make any amount of peace with it, you do feel better. And I'm thinking about like when someone walks in the room, if their energy is tuned to a high frequency and their eyes are lit up, I don't even notice
Right. Isn't that funny?
what their size is.
Yes.
There's so many people that I'm like, it's not.
They glow.
They glow.
Like from the inside
so
out.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on the glow. I'm going to focus on
Mhm.
lighting up any room, no matter my size. Because there's plenty of people that could be stick thin and meet the BMI.
Yes.
But they walk in a room and my energy is drained.
Right.
There's no joy or happiness or glow.
Right.
Well, who's better off?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you always want what you don't have.
We
right?
all know people who look like the Barbie doll, but they are not happy.
Yeah.
And they have their own struggles. So I just think it's about bringing awareness to the fact that, okay, let's just throw out this whole beauty standard by size / body weight and all of that.
We're done with it.
Right.
It's dead.
So let's
Bikini Industrial Complex
die.
is declaring it here today.
Die.
It's dead.
So let's talk about then, like, how should we, okay, so if there's not, you should be 125 pounds, you should be 130 pounds, whatever. If we do away with that, how do we then know? We could go with how we feel. We've talked about that. But what is the new hotness? Isn't that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah. And like what, in the book, they talk about like, what do you do when you don't have a number?
Yes.
Like, how do you like, move forward with that, and it's, like, accepting the mess that you are,
Yes.
like,
Where
accepting
you are.
yourself as a beautiful mess, listening to your intuition
Mm.
so that you can actually tune into or pursue if you are not healthy or well and need to pursue interventions through whether it's, integrated medicine, mainstream medicine, naturopathic remedy, whatever it might be,
Yes.
like, but you need to pursue it, and
For
advocate for
yourself.
yourself
Mhm.
in that.
Yes.
And, like, rather than having, like, a weight loss goal or a dieting goal, like, have a goal about how you measure how you feel every day.
Yes.
Like, have a goal about things that bring you joy and,
Mhm.
like, fulfill your life. Like,
Yes.
replace that goal with an even more worthy goal.
Yes.
Like, find something else.
Right. So I remember reading a little bit in the book about the new hotness, and it gave a little story about the lead singer of the Mamas and the Papas and how she was an overweight woman, but she was obviously successful at her craft.
Yeah.
She was the lead singer. Apparently, she had lots of boyfriends.
Ah,
So her love life was very active. So if we measure success in different ways, right? She's killing it. She's killing it because she's got
yeah.
hit things on, hit songs on the radio. She's got an active love life. I don't know what else you judge success by or happiness by. And I think the quote was something like, and I'm paraphrasing here, like, I'm not as thin as I'd like to be, but I think I look really good. And she obviously did. She had that glow. She had
Yeah.
that shine inside, and she had a confidence. She had a brightness inside. She had a boldness that probably was ahead of her time, but that I feel like now let's measure ourselves with that, right?
Well, it's the whole, like, rise of the popularity of, say, Lizzo. Like,
Yes.
if you declare that you're the new hotness, like, who is there really to argue with you if you
Well, there's
believe
going to be
you're
haters.
there's gonna be haters, but
Yes.
haters gonna hate, and you can lead with confidence.
Yes.
And I think it's redefining what the beauty standards should be, one woman at a time,
Mhm.
and redefining, like, what actually brings you confidence and power and gets you closer to your own goals,
Mhm.
one woman at a time through
Mhm.
our daughters,
Mhm.
like, in working with our friends and, like,
Mhm.
paying compliments, and like you said to
Mhm.
me today, like, "Blue is your color," and I'm
Yes.
like, "Thank you, that feels nice, like, that means a lot." Like, how are we raising up the women around us
Yes.
through calling out those things that are not focused on the body
Yes.
and the, you know, weight makeup of the body.
Yeah, and I do think having these conversations with women and then they have conversations with their daughters about how the game is fucking rigged. It makes me angry. I want to burn shit down. I mean, I have been since I had my first kid when I was 18 and it's been a struggle. I remember thinking back like, "Oh my gosh, I'm size whatever." And size whatever is beneath now what the average woman is. I must still lose weight because I'm not before the same size I was before I had a kid, right? And it's so fascinating to me how that was like at 18 years old. And here I still am constantly like, managing my snacks and all of the things that I do, right? To try
Still
to
taking up your
right.
headspace.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
We need to keep
A
having
and
these conversations.
we need to keep having them with the men in our lives as well,
Yes.
and
Very
our
important.
husbands and our sons, and redefining through the words that we use and the way that we talk about people, the value of
Yes.
beauty and the role of the body in beauty. Like, the words matter that we use, and the little ones are hearing that, right? They're
It's so
hearing that and
true.
seeing that, and so, like, that's our best defense is, like, thinking about the words we use and talking about our own bodies and interacting with other people.
Mhm.
So, like, it's such a big topic and it is so weighted.
Yes.
But I'm so glad that we're just openly discussing it
Agreed.
here with our community. I hope that it inspires conversations.
Same.
Anybody listening to this with their significant others, like, what is your story with body positivity, or like where are you at, and what is your body saying to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, tune in, listen. What do you actually need from me?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's probably not at all what you think.
Right. It's not probably
it's not what
less
society
food.
says
You're right.
it is.
It's not less food.
It's something else.
You might just need rest.
That too,
I mean,
right?
right?
Like, there's so many different things that could be making up and tweaking the way that you feel. So give your body a much needed, lend it a much needed ear to share with you. See how that affects your mental health,
Mm-hmm.
and share, just continue to like spread that narrative of like there are different ways of establishing beauty.
Yes, I love
And
that.
the Bikini Industrial Complex is dead.
It's dead. It doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist. Yeah, this has been, like I like how you said hot under the collar topic,
Uh-huh.
and
Oof.
and in a nice, just like culmination of a lot of the burnout series that we've had, and
Yes.
why this book is so valuable is it weaves in all of the things that women are confronting in this rigged game that we're playing in, but
Mhm.
you can't stop us.
No, and
Not
it's
gonna
good.
hold us
Yeah,
back.
you got to know the game is rigged so you can know like what you're up against.
Figure out how to be a better player. And with that, as always, thank you for listening, sticking with us through this chat. I love our little solo dishes on a topic, and I'm excited to see where the conversations continue to go with burnout and women and
Yes.
the patriarchy.
Yes.
Bleh. Cheers, friends. You've just finished another episode of the Heart and Soul podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed the show, and if you've loved it, we would love if you'd leave us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening. You can find links to leave that review in the show notes, where you'll also find other resources that we reference on our show. And if you think a friend could find value in today's episode or any future episodes, please share this episode with them on social media. This is one of the only ways the podcast can organically grow, and we just can't wait to connect with you and all of your besties. You can also find Monique and I on our many social media platforms or our websites, and we're going to leave links to those in the show notes as well. Thank you for listening. We look forward to sharing our hearts and souls with you again next time. With Heart, I'm Mariah.
And with Soul, I'm Monique.